All right. Hey guys. Okay, so this is the second video I'm doing. I just got through talking. It was the first one, um, and I rambled for 2 hours. A lot of information. I'm going to try not to let this one go so long, but I have had so much that God has been wanting me to share. And sometimes there's just so much, it's hard to know how to begin. And he just said, just start, just go. So I just shared for 2 hours. I just took a break. I'm going to continue to try to get all of these thoughts out. So please forgive me if it sounds like rambling. It's just really important that I share. Um, God said today, it needed to be today. I wish I was more polished, but I'm not. But it's important. The timing is now. So I'd like to start off that this video, I put number 2. So I'm going to just try to put them as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I don't know how many there's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot. I have been learning for a very long time from the Lord. I study dreams and visions. I do have the gift of dream interpretation within my knowledge. And God has revealed a lot to me about the timing. I have some prophetic vision. Um, Things I've seen have already happened. That's how I've learned that some of the things I've seen that haven't happened yet are going to happen. Now, prophecy, you guys, there's a lot of people seeing things and some of them look scary. When God reveals things to his people, if they're warning dreams or if they're scary, it is a wake-up call. Prophecy and seeing something that's going to happen doesn't necessarily mean it's etched in stone. It means that the world has the option to do something about it. So that's why I kind of don't want to say everything I've seen, because I don't know that those things are going to happen. I think we still have a chance to get our world on track. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. But about a year ago, I was getting a lot of downloads, and the message to warn people, warn people, warn people, warn people was pressing hard on me. And I had been sharing with anybody who would listen. Um, just knowing that that was what I was supposed to do. And you guys, when God is calling you, you'll know. You just know if you're hearing things and then you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're sharing them. It can sound crazy to people. What do you mean God's talking to you? God's not talking to me like that. You're going to get a lot of pushback, and you just kind of know that going in, and it's pretty easy to share and get pushback from people that you don't know. It's like, oh, you're there to share, and whoever's going to receive it's going to receive it. And those who aren't going to receive it, they're not going to receive it. But it does start to get a little tricky when your friends, your family, your pastors, your husbands, your wives, your children question and start pushing back, right? Um, Jesus went through it too. Came back, 30 years old, starting his ministry, preaching, and the brothers and sisters hear that Jesus, hey, Jesus is over there healing the sick again. And the mom and the brothers and sisters go and they knock on the door to get him. And the disciples go to Jesus and say, your mom and brothers and sisters are here. He's like, these are my brothers and sisters. Okay. And you have to kind of read between the lines to understand what was going on back then. Jesus stood out. Jesus had a following, and his family, who were the closest to him, they had been through a lot having Jesus in their lives. So they were concerned when they heard that Jesus was back and preaching and teaching, and Jesus was just establishing that he would be continuing to talk with his friends. He was not going to be leaving with his family. Okay. So Jesus said, no prophet is welcomed in his own home. Now, I'm not claiming to be a prophet right now. I've just seen some prophetic things. And there are times where I've been given some prophecy. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm a prophet. I'm just not going to use that title. But I'm not going to deny that God has revealed some things. Okay. So if somebody who's close to me thinks I'm unqualified or they didn't hear it or it doesn't sound correct, if it came from the Lord, I'm not going to back down. And that can be a very, very lonely place to be because it can be upsetting if it doesn't look like what other people have expected things to look like. And we all know that heaven, and when we get there and the veil gets lifted, we all know that heaven is going to be amazing. It's going to be unique. It's going to be something we've never seen before. How it comes about, all of it's going to be exciting, right? But we do have some ideas in our head that have been planted over time, and the ideas of the rapture is a big one. In our world, we have people all over the world who know that the time is right now. And the same people, we've all been taught, depending on how long you've been going to church and where you're at, if you identify with Jesus, of the rapture, that we're going to get taken out of here, right? Before it gets really bad and there's a tribulation. These are Christian words. You're welcome to continue to listen if you're not a Christian. This is a message for everyone. You do not have to be a Christian to be saved. You have to, if you want to know who your creator is, you're welcome to tune in and listen. I'm going to try to give you present it in a new way that may not sound as hard to understand or hard to receive. Anyway, Christians believe all over the world that we're going to disappear. Now, part of this has come about because of Hollywood, okay? Hollywood has shown the rapture as people just disappearing and suddenly they're gone. And then the rest of the world is left behind. And it's kind of funny because everyone thinks they're going to be raptured out of here. Nobody focuses on the part that very few actually find that narrow path. Everybody thinks they're on the narrow path. So everybody thinks they're disappearing. So the rapture is, it could be missed. Okay. The rapture is a spiritual thing. It is not a physical thing. God very clearly has revealed this to me, but I also think that it's just logical. You guys, we live here in a world where we're not all suddenly going to drop dead or clothes aren't going to be left on the ground. There's that book series that was very, very well written, the Left Behind books, captivating, very, very amazing. But if you take them literal, you're going to miss it. But perhaps take them in a spiritual sense. There is a rapture. There is a protection over God's people, but it is a spiritual protection. And to be in that spiritual protection means that you are praying, listening, reading your Bible, obeying what God does give you, dreams, visions, words. Sometimes God tells you to do something that it's overwhelming and scary. And I know because I've been living that life. To be in that rapture knowledge, to have knowledge of what's going on, you have to be tuned in. And it's not going to church on Sundays for 2 hours and that's it. To check out right now and be like, I don't have to worry about anything because I'm going to be raptured out of here. It's not quite like that. Rapture knowledge and that protection and that sealing is given to anybody, but he's speaking right now and he's been speaking for a long time. So if you haven't been listening, you may not be aware that the rapture door has been open for a while. I will clarify this. I hope it clarifies it. Not everyone's going to be agree with me, okay? But I'm sharing things that God has very clearly revealed to me, things that I didn't just believe. I too was raised with the understanding, look, oh, we'd be out of here before tribulation. We are, but we're still going to be here. Now, I'd like to, at this moment, just kind of shift a little bit. Also, in Christian worlds, in our especially here in America, I don't know how many people will actually end up listening to this, but in America, the church, Christianity, Protestantism, it tends to have the same flair. And then people discuss, like, well, I'm a pre-trib. I believe that God's going to rapture us out of here at the beginning of a 7-year tribulation. And then there's people who mid-trib. I think we're going mid-trib. And then there's post-trib. Nope, we're going through the tribulation. Well, I would like to tell you that it is all correct. All right. And just depending on who you are and where you are and at what point you step into your calling, and when you cross that finish line, that is when you arrive. Okay. According to the stars and the word of God, are going to begin for some, and for others, they've been in tribulation. There's a little bit of a crossover here, guys. The old heaven is passing away and the new heaven is coming in, and it's not just a hard stop. There are overlaps. Okay. And that's why, in the book of Thomas, it says, where the end is, there is the beginning. We have a lot of people who've been watching the stars, and saying the rapture's here, the rapture's there. They're not necessarily wrong. Those are not false prophets. They literally are capturing the whole group of people. Well, that rapture door was opened on that date for a whole group of people. Not everybody in the exact same place at the same time. You have your 144,000 that are sealed at the very beginning, and then it continues through. So what I would like to say as a dream interpreter, I've been having dreams for a very long time. About 4 years ago, the interpretations started coming a lot more fast. And it was because God had given me dreams and I had seen things in advance that I knew was God, but then they started to come about years later, and I realized, whoa, he had let me see the future. Okay. I'm going to give you an example. In August of 2017, I had one of the most profound dreams ever. I'm going to call it a vision. I differentiate a dream, a lot of symbolism. A vision, I'm literally transported into another place. I feel like I'm living in another time, and then I wake up and I'm back here at this place. But I have been almost like time jumping, dimension jumping, quantum jumping, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Transported into a future event and seeing it, so that when I wake up, I'm thinking it's here and now, and I wasn't aware I was seeing something to come. So in August of 2017, I literally was in this space, and the Lord had kind of put me on a director's chair, and all he said was, watch. Very common theme in my dreams. Watch, watches, watch. I'm a watchman on the wall, watch. I was on a director's seat, and this seat began to pan back, and I saw this picture unfolding in front of me. What I was looking at was kind of like the Grand Canyon. I saw 2 steep cliffs. I saw a body of water, a little river running in between them, and I saw a bridge going from one side to the other, supported by a beam in the middle that went all the way down and was in the water. Okay, so there was the equivalent of a cross bridge and the 2 sides. And as this director chair began to pan back, it was almost like every single thing in the picture started moving at the same time. Everything was getting sharper. So the cliffs were getting taller. but they were also getting steeper and they were getting longer. So this picture was like evolving into a massive, it was moving in every direction possible. The waters were getting wider, deeper, and the cliffs were expanding further apart. So as this happened, so as I was panning back, the picture was just getting bigger. And the bridge, the part in the middle, was growing quite wide. And the worlds were growing quite wide. Now you have to remember too that I'm sitting in a chair and I was feeling everything real time. So this was coming back very, very high. I could fall off this chair and I could see where I was. So when you're in a vision and you're looking at these things, you're also having a very human experience. It can be kind of scary. And so I'm watching this, and the picture grows to the point where I would say that the bridge part, the bridge, was so deep in the water, this had grown into a circumference of about 8 miles wide. That's a very large base, right? Holding a bridge, 8 miles wide. It was a circle, it was a circumference, and it was made out of concrete, big pole. The bridge across from one side to the other had gotten quite extensive. Now, in the beginning of the dream, it seemed normal, and I had seen people on the bridge, by the way, going from one side to the other. You could go back and forth. But as the picture had grown, this bridge had gotten quite narrow. Okay, it's like it had taken it and stretched it. So now it was very thin. People on the bridge were like ants, if I could see them at all. I could see the concrete, but the bridge part had become very narrow. And at this point in the dream, I said to the Lord, and I was almost panicking. I was like, if that bridge ever comes down, there's no way that it would ever be built back. Okay. Because it literally, from what I was looking at, I was so high up. I practically at this point felt like I was seeing two completely different worlds. And there was no way that little ant-sized humans were going to be able to go down those steep, steep cliffs with cement bags and equipment and go deep into the ocean waters, which had grown massive. It was ocean water. You couldn't get down there. And somehow dig a hole and rebuild 8 miles of cement to build it high up and rebuild this bridge. It was physically impossible to rebuild the bridge. And now if you are listening and you're hearing it, this is a cross, okay? I was aware that what I was seeing was a cross, and that way was about to come down. And I said, if that bridge comes down, there will be no way to build it back up. As I said that, there was a military jet that began to rise out of the ocean water, and it rose out of the ocean water. It was a military jet, looked like a F-16 kind of thing, but it was kind of hovering straight up like a helicopter. I've never seen a military jet go straight up like that, but it was going straight up. And as it rose, it came just above the backside of the bridge. And I saw it shoot one shot from the nose of the plane. And it was kind of like a Star Wars light, a laser light. And it came from the nose of the plane, hit the center of the bridge where the met. And that one shot went zoop. And I felt myself go, because I knew what was about to happen. And then the dream slowed down, and I saw in very, very slow motion that one shot began to crumble the bridge, and the bridge began to fall in the exact same way that the 9/11 towers fell. Very line by line by line, straight down, and the bridge began to fall. And the bridge was collapsing. And I awoke. And when I awoke, I absolutely knew that God had just showed me that the world was about to be divided, and that the ability to go from that time was up. And when I awoke, I thought, oh my gosh, this is in the here and now. And I went to work and I was telling everybody, God's coming, God's coming, God's coming. And everybody's like, what are you, chillax. Now, it was profound. Okay. Over the next few years, there are people in this world that they don't hear me anymore. They don't want to know what I have to say anymore. And I'm not where they are anymore. We have seen families have to take sides, and the great divide has happened. Okay. That's kind of like rapture. One's been taken, one hasn't. People are divided. Okay. Our own government can't even, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you're on this name, you vote this way. And if you're this name, you vote this way. Nobody is crossing anymore. All right. So that great division that I saw has happened. Now, has that bridge completely come all the way down? I'm not going to say that. And here's why I'm not going to say that. I do believe that door has been closed for some, but not all. Jesus gave us a parable that go out, invite them, invite that person, invite that person, invite that person. And a lot of those people don't go. They don't show up. They're too busy. They don't want to arrive. And so the creator said to the servant, go invite anybody who wants to come, bring them off the streets and give it to them. So no, the door to eternity has not been closed for all, but has it been closed for some who know what they should be doing and are making it very difficult for others? Yeah, probably. All right. So the last 7 years there has been a 7-year period that has ended. It began in August of 2017 with a full solar eclipse, and then followed by on September 23rd, 2017, the revelation stars, 12, 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, did align in the sky. It was a one-time event in all of history that would happen, foretold long ago, and those were in the Bible. Those are God's clock. Those are God's markers. God gave Moses the days. God told Moses when the feast dates would be, how to read the moon. The book of Enoch declared the stars, taught man, and we have been watching for it. Okay. And it's happening in the here and now. Now, we live in a time and age when we just take it for granted that we can pull up the computer and look and see when the next astrological event will happen. And what's a solar eclipse? And another, full moon, whatever. But you guys, there's the hourly watch on YouTube, and what an amazing man. He charts those stars. He watches those stars. You guys, the stars are declaring that the time is now. Okay. The rapture window is now. And even scientists are finding the clashing CERN. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, guys. The whole world is declaring that the time is now. So if God is using a lot of things, actually, I'm seeing the most amazing people on YouTube that you would have never thought would have come around. And here they are. Oh, and then you got people like, okay, Elon Musk. I don't know if this is true, but I've had a lot of dreams with Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is a chosen. Okay. I'm just going to say it. I know that there's some people out there who are like, oh, Elon Musk, he's Neuralink in the brain or whatever. I've seen, God has revealed to me that Elon Musk is a Neuralink. These are things that can help people walk again. These are things that are going to be important. But I heard him say, and unless he's changed it, that you're never want to mess with that piece of someone's brain that takes away who they are. So that's your pineal gland. That's your the parts of you that make you you. And we know that the pineal gland is your soul. Okay, that's where you discern your God self. That is where people connect intuitively to a higher source. That's why it's very important that you drink good water, because things that can calcify that pineal gland and make you unable to hear and discern truth would be fluoride in your water. Be careful about the things you're eating or allowing to be put into your body, because a lot of those things do affect your pineal gland. That's some people call that your third eye, and we know if you're in this world, you hear about the third eye, you hear about you see Hollywood doing all that. You guys, these are all things going on. They mean different things to different people. Your Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek; they'll inherit the earth." You're really lucky if you don't really know the extent of the third eye and all the. It's not conspiracy, but there is a lot of knowledge out there that people have tried to keep hidden, try to lord it over other people, and it's kind of good if you don't know anything. But be aware that your third eye is your pineal gland, and there are people who would like to control your pineal gland. So take care of it so that you keep your God self, your channel open, and don't allow anybody to mess with that. Okay. So anyway, that is your third eye. Even the Egyptians knew about it. Looks like the shape of a pine cone, and it's so much fun to learn about. Let's see, a little tangent there. Pineal gland, where was I going? Shoot, I get so excited talking about this stuff. Anyway, so we're you guys, we're in the last days, and we're at the end. We're at the end. So September, my pineal gland, I do hear very clearly. I have learned one way to uncalcify that is to hit a frequency in my brain. Now, I am not chanting. I am not doing anything weird. I'm not going, I'm not doing anything weird. And I say that because if you try to explain this to people who go to church, they're going to think you're chanting, you're meditating, you're opening yourself up to demons. Okay. There's a lot of religion that needs to be thrown out the window. Okay. There's a science to this. And if you hit a certain frequency in your head, it helps vibrate that. And if you are experiencing any calcification, you can kind of help break that down. Okay. And I can hear in my head if I hit it, and as soon as you hit it, it just starts to buzz. And then when you hit that, you're going to want to do it really loud. There are YouTube videos that you can look up, pineal gland activation frequency, and play it on the TV. And if you listen to that, and then if you can match it in your head, hum along, it will help open that up. And that's some people know it to be clashing the crystals. It doesn't matter how you hear it. Try not to get weirded out or think it's weird. It's simply a health thing that you are doing to help, align hear the channel. Some people call it chakras. Some people call it meditation. Some people call it prayer. Okay. So breath prayer, things like that. There are a lot of different names for it, but it's basically doing the exact same thing. And the creator does not care what it is called. Do not turn away information because somebody has hijacked a word and given it to the occult and you think I'm trying to get you into the occult. Okay. It's not that. Try to hear what the message is. So you want to take care of your soul self. We are spiritual beings. We are souls. And we are experiencing life in a human body. Okay. Jesus had a human body, but his soul was the creator. He was the only begotten son, and he was the word. He was the creator, stepped into our world, left his powers at the gates, came into our world as a human, could do what God would allow him to do, but was limited because he was in a human form. But he came to talk to us, and he gave us the words. He called them life itself, that every word out of his mouth was bread. It's how we find the way to be like him, to be able to, that just because the body died doesn't mean your soul dies. Okay. And we live in a world where if you YouTube near death experiences, they're all over the place. People have left and come back, and there's a ton of messages out there of people over the last 10, 20 years, especially. Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back. I saw Jesus. He said this. He said that. So if you want to know what's going on the other side, go listen to these people. All these people are not lying. They're sharing their stories. Okay. So God is real. Heaven is real. You don't have to understand the whole thing to to get there. Souls are different ages, guys. This is something that has been revealed to me. I had a dream. I was having a conflict with somebody, and I'm a Christian, they're a Christian, and we were talking, and it was like, how are we not connecting on this? You know, how can you not see this? And how are we not connecting? And so God had to give me a dream, and he showed me this person as a 4-year-old. Okay. Now God wasn't soul being older. I had just more insight. Okay. I was a little bit more tuned in to a wider information, and I was able to make the connection that they were not able to make. They were not dumber. I was not smarter, but based on my soul age, I was able to receive. So it has taught me over time that it's pointless to fight with someone that is on a different page than you. You either hear it the same or you don't. We are all here experiencing life in different ways. And so there are the absolute truths, but then there are many dimensions, that there are parallel lives, multiple. You have a lot of people who've been saying things like about past lives over in past lives, and you're going to have people who go to church who go, nope, nope, one life, this is it, this is your chance. Jesus was a soul and a human. His soul was in the beginning, and his soul will be at the end, and his soul is now, and his soul lived in that body for a brief time. Okay. Jesus said you had to be born again of spirit. Everyone back then believed in reincarnation. Okay. Even the Sadducees and Pharisees went to John the Baptist and they said, well, tell us who you are. Are you Elisha? Who are you? You know, so reincarnation was an understood thought that your soul was eternal. If God birthed your soul, if the creator made you, you don't die. You never die. Okay. So there is no sting in death. That is what the Bible teaches. Jesus proved it. And before he came back to life, he brought Lazarus back. Okay. So it was beyond a coma and back. But, and how many times do we hear about people in comas? You know, the body is in a coma, and then when they come back, their mind, they were out there. They were on a trip, and they can hear and they tell it to us. Enoch, I believe Enoch was in a coma. Like he went to his family, and then the family watched over his body because he told them on how to prepare. And then his mind, he left and he went on this trip. And when he came back, it was all written down. But the family watched over the body. So the soul was able to leave and come back. That has happened to me. It was terrifying the first time I experienced it because it happened out of the blue. And it wasn't, I had never heard of anything, astral projection or anything like that. Okay. So it was extremely scary, and I couldn't find anybody to help me with that. And I will tell you that it took kind of going through people's videos, I stumbled on other people who had those experiences, and then I was able to kind of figure out what had happened. So we are not confined to this body per se. There are people, anyway, I don't want to get too far out there. But as a Christian, as somebody who loves God, God is so much bigger than we have been taught, than we know, and He's bringing the veil down, you guys. We are going to get to see things and hear things and learn things now in ways that we've never experienced before. We're going to be able to look back and go, oh, like okay, so let's just go to I like to go to the Gospel of Thomas a lot. Why the Gospel of Thomas was left out of the Bible, I will never know, because the Bible is supposed to be about Yeshua. We got the Old Testament, it all points to Jesus. So in the New Testament, it would have been so nice if every single book was Jesus' words. And you guys, there were so many Gospels and things that Jesus said and did. I mean, the books and the Gospels were amazing. And if you look at the Council of Nicaea, there was so many Gospels brought in, and they decided and pick and choose what would go in the Bible and what would not. And when you really start to look at it, you start to figure out that they kept it pretty limited. Okay, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, a lot of repeats, some very good stuff. Of course, we can find our way home. Thank God we can find our way home. There's enough in there. Words in red, a lot of overlap, but not a single gospel after He rose. Because He rose, you guys, and He was around and He was still teaching. And none of those gospels are in the Bible. Gospel of Thomas literally starts off, and these are the secret sayings which the living Jesus spoke, and which Didymus Judas Thomas wrote down. Okay, so if you want to know Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, great. It's like sitting on the hill and you're watching Him talk to the whole crowd. So He's going to talk in a way that the whole crowd. This is meat, guys. This is meat. And somewhere along the way, someone decided to say, oh, well, those aren't Holy Spirit inspired, or oh, those are Gnostic, or those are, and literally you have an entire world in a Christian community who love God, love Jesus with their whole heart, and aren't looking at all His words. And He's the living word. So let's read His word, And the Gospel of Thomas is amazing. And I do know that some of the sayings can sound confusing, but not when you're listening, and not when you're following, and not when you're going to the dreams, and not when you start to look at the timing. They're starting to make perfect sense. Okay. So things like the Gospel of Thomas are absolutely important. Jesus was an Essene. That's very common knowledge in some circles. Some other people don't know. Essenes were to the best of my understanding, they were the high priests. They were the keepers of the knowledge at the time. They were the descendants that had come from Melchizedek. They were the King David. They were the divine knowledge. They were the true royal bloodline. And that's why when the stars aligned the night Jesus was born, nobody lost Jesus. Jesus was special from the very moment He was born. And Joseph, as the one betrothed to Mary, he was picked for Mary, got dreams and visions. And it was based on Joseph's dreams and visions that God protected the child. When the Magi were coming from afar and had seen the stars, even the Magi had known to look for the stars. The prophecies in other cultures said something was going to be happening. They were looking for the Messiah, and the stars had aligned. And so as they came in, and hey, King Herod, where's the king? He's like, what king? So he got a little threatened, right? And God went before and told Joseph, take Mary and the child and go to Egypt. And thank God Joseph obeyed and listened to those dreams and visions, and they got Jesus out of Dodge. Because King Herod, when the Magi didn't come back to say where they'd found the child, had the people go in and go through the scrolls and try to figure out what he was like, who's a threat to my kingship, determined that the stars had been there 2 years earlier, and they went in and they killed all the babies, all the boys up to 2 years. Okay, so governments, world leaders, things like this, eradicating threats to the thrones and government and not wanting to be challenged. This isn't new stuff, guys. So God has been using dreams and visions for a long time to keep his people safe. And it is a gift in the spirit. It's never been dead. There are people who say, oh, the gifts of the spirit are dead. I don't know why people would think that the Holy Spirit would not be talking today and guiding the same way it did then. There was nobody said that the spirits and the gifts were going to be turned off. Have there been? The Holy Spirit, what the Holy Spirit wants to do. Don't be dogmatic. Oh, well, my pastor teaches this or whatever. If it's not a if it's not a serious soul issue, if Jesus didn't say it, then just go to the Lord. Go to the Lord. Nothing's worth fighting over right now, you guys. If anything, we're supposed to be coming together as one and helping each other bring up. Heaven and earth is going to come according to how much we unify and bring it down. And if most of us want peace on earth, and we're willing to take the people who don't want peace on earth and let them fight it out in prisons. Okay, we'll put them all together on their own little island and let them war it out, because that's what seems to make them happy. But the majority of us really do want peace on earth. The majority of us do not profit from war, and I literally just learned yesterday that they might bring back a draft. Why? Are they planning for more wars? Because that's the only reason that you would force a draft. And we don't want war, okay? There are people manipulating this, okay? I don't think that's in question. Israel could stop, the war in Israel could stop right now. But there are people who designed it that way, okay? There were dreams coming down the pipe and visions coming down the pipe, and God putting out warnings for people about Israel. And Egypt intercepted calls and said, hey, you guys are coming under attack. And some people chose to say, oh, no. Oh, we were caught off guard. Really? The most advanced, smartest country completely caught off guard by land, by sea, by air, all that stuff. You guys, it was no accident, okay? I don't know what to say, except other than the day of the Lord. That is the day of the Lord. And Jesus said on that day, run. Don't go back to get your clothes. Run. And you don't want to be pregnant. And what did they do? They came in and they were pregnant people. It was bad, guys. It was bad. It's already happened, okay? The whole world is surrounding Israel. Maybe not in army uniforms and maybe not in guns, and we don't look like we used to in the Civil War when the troops lined up, but computers, hacking, Starlinks, satellites. You guys, we pulled out of Afghanistan in a day and left all those weapons there. Well, where do you think they went? Okay. So that was by design. There was no accident. A man who they just removed from office, he didn't know. He just signed a bunch of stuff, I literally remember watching a video, maybe it's still out there, and he was signing executive order after executive order, and you can hear him in the camera say, I don't even know what I'm signing. And Kamala was right there going, that's okay, just sign it anyway. And he's just signing them one after another. And they were literally taking back every single thing from the 4 years that had just been done so they could get back on track to the plan that they had already begun. All right. So when there was an upset in 2016 and things started to go in the correct way because it had stopped something that had been in motion from back in the time when Kennedy was assassinated, it panicked an entire group of people. And so that's why immediately, you guys, it was impeachment trials and I mean, just anything to get back to that agenda. Okay, so little politics there. You guys, I'm not saying anything that most people don't know. The only people who don't know anything is typically older, and they're still watching TV news. Okay, television news is there's not a single network that I have found on TV, like a public TV, that is not owned by someone who is working in an old world order or and in this current one. It is transitioning, guys. It's not working for our world anymore. They've been running things the exact same way for a very long time. And part of their ability to stay and kind of operate under the scenes is that they own and control the airwaves. Okay, the Bible says, like, the prince of the airwaves, he's the Satan kind, right? Like, who owns the air? Who owns the stations? Who owns the news? Who owns the airwaves going through? Okay, and there is definitely a follow the money trail, and they control the dialogue. And that is why if you own the TV and the man who's running for president is the threat to your existence, well, and you own the TV, well, you spoon-fed Trump hate on a daily basis. Here's your daily dose. Here's our spin. And so it is really hard to talk to somebody who watches the news and has been receiving these daily doses for 8 years. They are so programmed through their channeling. These are people who are, it's called witchcraft, but it just doesn't, if you don't go, you don't really see it because it's not, okay. And governments have been using propaganda and brain manipulation tactics for a very long time. People just don't realize they've been using it. Some people, not everybody, some people are using it on us, okay? Our leaders are keeping us in the dark, all right? But unfortunately, nothing they can do about it. There are certain, when the moon is full and the frequencies are extra big, we are starting to awaken, guys. It's time. That's how God created it. And Jesus was telling about it. We're awakening. Our souls are transitioning. We are transforming into a higher vibration. So we're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to awaken. We're not supposed to be so easily manipulated and just, obedient. We are collectively rising as a body, and we are going to be better. We are going to have people who are wiser, and people like Elon Musk who are bringing in technology so that people who are paralyzed can walk again. That is a good thing. And he doesn't want to mess with the brain. It is really important that we have good leadership that is monitoring AI, that it's not being abused. And there's a lot of, if you've never heard this before, this is not, it'll sound weird if you've never heard it, but it's very prevalent. You just have to go look. But there's a whole group of people out there who believe the eternal life would be to put our soul into the computer. Okay, they are really wanting to live eternally, and they know their body's going to die, so they want to transition their souls into AI, and they are actively doing this. Okay, so some of these people are putting AI in our food, they're putting AI in our things, and if you don't know that, they are affecting the bodies, they're affecting the brain. And you have to be really careful. You want to maintain humanity. You don't have to be scared of people like Elon Musk who say, like, yeah, no, this is technology, but we're not going to touch your person. We're not going to let it affect that part of you that affects who you are. So that's a person who's being honest up front. You want to be questioning, like, what is all this stuff in my food label that I don't understand? And why does it move when it's put in certain petri water dishes and things like that? You guys, there's so much that is going on that we need to get involved. People need to awaken and start questioning. And just because somebody wants to go, oh, conspiracy, who are going to answer the questions and stop blaming, and stop pointing fingers and really get to the heart of it. Perfect example. Everybody knows about Hunter's laptop now, right? But Hunter's laptop came out before the election. And there was so much in that laptop that proved, and it turned into an entire impeachment trial. Now, why? Because there was a lot going on in the Ukraine. And that one, pointing out that one, highlighted it too much. It scared the bejesus out of them. There were plenty of people's sons over there getting kickbacks. And here we are, and billions of dollars has been sent to the Ukraine for a war. None of it's accounted for. So perhaps that one comment about pointing out the sun was a panic, because it stopped a plan that is now playing out. Okay. That laptop, everybody denied it. None of the news would cover it. But if you were on social media, you got to see what was in it, what was being covered. And there was absolutely no reason for that to be hidden. It was sound. And yet it was. And so for some of us who are watching from the beginning, you guys, it's been scary. It's been scary, because you're just going, we're living in a world where is the authority who has the ability to stop this? And who's in control of them? And you start to realize, like, we're being run by the mob. The mob is in control, or worse. I want the mob back, because some of the things that are being allowed to go on has been pretty overwhelming. Now, if you don't know anything, and every once in a while someone goes, conspiracy theory, tin hat. Well, I kind of envy you that you're not living under panic and anxiety. But at the exact same time, you're being manipulated. So you want to kind of get in there and find out what's going on, because there is a border problem. There is a quote food problem. There is a food shortage coming. There is millions of dollars missing from our world. And we are entering a crisis. For some of us, this election truly is, if the people don't step up in numbers and choose, that road that they have for us, you guys, is pretty scary. And when I say they, I'm not mentioning names. You can find them. There's plenty out there. I was kind of panicking at first, when God told me, he wanted me to start talking again. I was like, I don't want to do that again, because I've said names in the past. Do I know who the Antichrist is? Sure. There are many, just like Jesus said. Do I know who the white horse is? Yeah. Black horse? Yep. Pale horse? Yep. Red horse? Yep. They're all riding. Okay. But if I start to say those names, well, then you got your Christians going, and you're going to get pushback. Okay. And it isn't I was so thankful yesterday when the Lord told me that I don't have to focus on that anymore. I don't have to focus on waking up the church, waking up the Christians. Okay. That window is done, because we're over. It's 7 years. It's been 7 years since September 23rd, 2017. And this last Rosh Hashanah was the final one. And here we are, Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Tabernacles, we are at the end. Sign of Jonah was in April. All the blood moons, everything's landing correctly. The Bible tells us it's time, it's happened, and the stars have aligned. The only reason people don't think that it's really happened is because the Hollywood version of the rapture has not taken place. We are still here. We are evolving into our highest selves. And as you step into one realm and leave another behind, as you step into the truth, you will suddenly be in that world. Have any of you heard, if you've heard of Bashar, I think is his name. So he's a man who channels a higher self, and that's the name. And now, if you are a Christian and you go to church and this is all new for you, it's going to sound weird or demonic or new age. But you guys, we are in a new age. We are entering a time, some people call it 3-dimensional to 5-dimensional. That is a rapture. That is an awakening. So again, try not to get hung up on terms. Ask yourself, is this biblical? Could it fit? Okay. And remember that this has been condensed and is very little. And there is a warning in here that says, if you mess with this, that you would be held accountable. Now, every Christian knows what that would mean, and they're not going to mess, or people who love the Lord are not going to mess with it, right? But there are people who don't love God. They don't care about that warning. They're going to mess with it intentionally to give them the edge. So that warning would not be in here if it wasn't being censored, okay? So I'm not asking you to believe in anything new. I'm just asking you to be aware that there was a lot of things, and they're out there right now, Dead Sea Scrolls. Read them. If Jesus went to school and was reading things like the Emerald Tablets and the Book of Enoch, and he went to Egypt, and I don't think Mary and Joseph brought him back until he was older. So Jesus was very well educated. He was very well read. He knew the knowledge that went back, and he was in Egypt. He probably knew hieroglyphics and, the Egyptian history. That is the story. It is all connected, guys. And there are so many Christians that don't know that. Very limited. And that's why you have people out there who just think Christians are stupid, because, you got the Christians who are saying Jesus is the only way, and he was the only begotten son. It is the key. Jesus was the key. But because the church confines him and makes him so small, intelligent people who've read it all, even they haven't been able to connect the dots, okay? There's a lot of information. So Yeshua himself was advanced. Yeshua is the true name of Jesus. They turned his name into Jesus at some point. Jesus literally meant Hail Zeus. So initially, Yeshua HaMashiach, that was his name. Okay, so things like that. I mean, it seems so small and simple, but people just need to, my friend said it best. Will the real Jesus please stand up? Let's find out what he said. Let's find out who he really was. There's an excellent video out there. I highly recommend. It's called The Hidden Years. And if you type in The Hidden Years, Jesus Travels, you guys, we have the technology. We know where Jesus was between 12 and 30, right? Like, they don't put that in here either. But nobody lost Jesus. He wasn't missing from between 12 and 30. So you can find out where he went, where he lived. It's very exciting, but there's a whole lot more to the story. And I'm kind of keeping things at a surface level so that it's a little challenging. I try not to be too specific so nobody can be offended or triggered. The goal is to unify, guys. The Holy Spirit wants us unified. I had an amazing dream. And let's see, I wonder if I have it right here. I think I wrote it down. I think it's journal. This was on August 3rd, 23. I'm in my friend's house in the stream, and I see a young woman and she has just given birth alone. She is young, tired, sweaty, and unwed. Her and the baby are wrapped in a grayish, dirty linen, and she is so tired. She hasn't even unwrapped and looked at the baby yet. So I know it sounds weird. It was the dream. So she's given birth, but this baby's wrapped in linen. It was like the death cloth, okay? Like the tomb, Jesus was wrapped in that cloth. I look over and I see my friend in the kitchen, and he too has a child. And the child appears to be around 3. The child has long hair, and my friend has been given a daughter. He picks up the child and puts it on his hip the way a mother does. And now the daughter turns into a mini me of him at approximately 3. So it was my friend is male, and at first it was daughter, but then when he picked it up and put it on his hip, it turned into an exact replica of him. So it was an adult version and a mini me version, but he looked like an adult, but as a 3-year-old body. Within moments, I see the small child turn into the exact age of himself, only still small. The parent, the older friend, begins to tickle and play with the smaller version, and the son begins to feel loved and full of joy from the attention. Now my attention goes back to the young woman, and she is still exhausted. So I ask if I can unwrap and see the baby. And she nods yes, but is too tired to help. So I unwrap the dirty linens to reveal the baby that she is holding tight. And the child is covered with the little white substance, so I know that it is a little premature, although good-sized and healthy. I take the baby in my hands and hold it up to look at it. And I didn't write this down, but I do remember that as I was like unwrapping the baby, I did begin to panic, like, oh my gosh, this baby needs to breathe. And this baby, it was wound the whole way. And so I was frantically trying to get it off. And I remember feeling relief when it took a breath. It is a son, and he begins to open his eyes. And I feel so much joy holding the baby. And somehow know it is mine to love forever. It felt more real than life itself. And I was telling my friend to come and see the baby. And then the scene shifted. I laid the baby on the ground, and I hear myself say, let's see what this baby can do. It immediately has the strength of a 1-year-old. Okay, this was a newborn, okay, and can turn over and coo, and it smiled back. Okay, so the brand new baby, and all of a sudden it's doing amazing things. And I hear myself tell a mother in the other room, this is what it looks like in the kingdom. These are super babies. And I know he's making an analogy to the 144,000. Okay, so I knew that when I was holding it and I'd laid it down, I did take on the presence of the Father in heaven. And the Father was yelling to the Mother, the Holy Spirit, this is what the babies in heaven look like. They're quick, they're fast, they're super babies. Okay, so you guys, we are in a time right now where we are awakening to our higher selves. We are birthing ourselves. It's tough, you guys. I do believe that the girl on the couch who just given birth was myself learning this. This is a new baby, in a sense. We're coming into a new heaven. Jesus is returning. What does that look like exactly? I'm not 100% sure. Here's what I do know. I saw Jesus in a vision, and I know I saw the real face. And this was July 2020. It was amazing. It felt more real than life itself. I had a few things happening in 2020 that I'll just always hold on to. Those are markers, they ground you, right? And in this dream, I was sitting in my parents' kitchen. And again, it was like a time travel. It was almost like where I've kind of been lately, but I was experiencing it in the vision back then. And in this dream, I'm in the kitchen of my parents' house. And whenever I see my parents' house, it represents home, 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 home. And I'm laying across the table and I'm super distraught and I'm crying out to the Lord, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Begging him, like, where are you? Right. And that's how a lot of people have been feeling. If you've been waiting on the Lord, if you're feeling exhausted, that's kind of where we all are. And suddenly I felt him put his hand on my side. And I felt it, guys. And I knew that it was the Lord. But at the exact same moment, I could not turn around and look at him. I was so aware that God was there that suddenly my conscious brain was like, am I okay? Am I okay? Am I sinning? I was running through everything like, am I ready? And I was panicking. And there were these things that were gray areas, like some people say they're sin, other people say they're not. And it was just like, I was suddenly afraid I was not ready. Okay. Even though I've been waiting for him my whole life, suddenly I was wondering, am I ready? Am I ready? And so he had touched my side. I wouldn't look at him, but I took my other hand and I literally pulled it over and I grabbed his hand and I was like, please don't go, please don't go, please don't go, you know. And he swung kind of around and he sat in the chair across from me. And I still couldn't look up, but I still was kind of not letting go of him. And you guys, then he said my name. I heard Jesus say my name. He said, Karen. And the way he said it, I knew I was okay. Okay. It was like I didn't have to worry. I was worrying for nothing. And I lifted my head and I looked into the face of Jesus. Blue eyes, big blue eyes. And his eyes were mesmerizing. That's all I know how to say. His face was a face I had never seen in any picture or anything. And I knew I was looking at the real face of Jesus. Okay. And he did have some blood coming out of his nose and out of his ears. I knew he had been in a battle to get to me and that he had taken some hits. The body of Christ has taken some hits. Blood out of the ears, painful things to hear. He communicated to me with his mind. His lips never moved. He said to me, I hope you're not disappointed. And in my mind, because I was hearing him so clearly, and I was confused why that would be the first thing he would say to me, I said, absolutely not. And I said to him, welcome home. And he said, it's good to be back. Again, communicated through the mind. Mouth wasn't moving, but he was sitting right in front of me. And it was the most amazing moment because it was like I was realizing he was here. He had arrived. It was over. He was really here. And at that moment, somebody walks into the dream and it becomes distracting. They don't mean to be distracting. They didn't realize it was him. And it was so intrusive into that beautiful moment. And then Jesus puts his hand up and goes like this. And that person flops over and kind of goes to sleep. They didn't kill them, they didn't or anything, but they fell asleep. And then I lifted them and I laid them to the side. And Jesus said, I knew Jesus was getting up to go into the bathroom to wash his hands. And I was going to prepare dinner. And I was smiling and I was so excited. I was about to cook Jesus dinner. I had no idea what I was going to make him because I truly, hot dogs, I can do some, but not a cook. And then I woke up and I was so excited because I think a cat jumped on the bed and I was trying so hard to go back into that dream and see Jesus again. And I couldn't. but it was more real than anything. And I saw the face. And then not that long after that, um, I saw on YouTube where the people had taken the shroud of Turin, and they were able to take the image and recreate what they believed Jesus may have looked like. And you guys, it definitely looked that captured. If that was to wake up and look straight at you, it could have been him for sure. Same size, same shape, same hair. Hair was, it could have been him for sure. And then I later heard a report how the shroud, how they did that image, that because the crucifixion would have been so intense for him, because the stress, because of the adrenaline, because of the things that he would have gone through, that would have created a much stronger imprint than your typical shroud or somebody who hadn't gone through that. That burial cloth was intense. And so that's how they were able to find that and bring it back and kind of prove that probably was the shroud. It would make sense that it would have been a treasure that people would have kept over time. So I absolutely saw that in the dream. So I'm excited. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap that up. I'll probably just bring this to a close and keep talking. You can tune in if you want. I'm mostly doing these for me because I got to get this out of my head. I have had so much for so long, and it just feels good to get them out. And that way, at least it's out there. I get so much out of listening to other people's testimonies and stories, and it has people unlock their doors. So that is why I'm speaking. I'm hoping that something I say may be able to give you the key you need to get through wherever you're at if you're stuck. But anyway, God bless you all.